Here are 3 pieces of technology, plus one optional, that I recommend that you need on this weight loss and health-based lifestyle that I coach and promote. So I coach the lifestyle for weight loss. So I specialize in weight loss, but as a positive health consequence, you'll lose weight, which is good. So losing weight is getting healthy. And I don't promote calorie counting. So calorie counting is for people who are unhealthy. On the foods that I recommend, on the lifestyle I recommend, you can eat as much of the foods as I recommend. So I recommend a formula for weight loss, which is, half of it essentially is on this lifestyle, is at the core, half of it is the food and the other half is exercise, and I recommend cycling. That's for another video. So this is the high sugar freedom lifestyle. So as you can guess already, it's vegan, high sugar, low fat, low protein. And because that therefore is the lower calorie foods, then you can eat as much of them as you want. And it's sugar and carbohydrates that satiate you. And I'm another human being, by the way, okay? So I know that it does, firstly, because it satiates me, and therefore it satiates all the other people, okay? All the other people in the world, okay? It's not fat and not protein, okay? It's sugar, because every cell in the human body runs on sugar to produce ATP. So you need the energy to thrive, okay, and perform in life, and that comes from sugar, carbohydrates. And you only use fat and protein if you were in a plane crash, okay, and you had to survive on whatever means, and if you didn't have enough carbohydrate, the body uses fat and protein as a backup, okay? So the primary energy system is always from sugar, so glycolysis, but that's for other videos. But that's just setting the framework of why I recommend the foods I recommend. And these are 3 pieces of technology, okay? So personally, I'm not a massive fan of technology. I don't think it's improving our lives, but again, that's for another video. But there are some pieces of technology, so not AI, okay? AI, no. But I've got a rice cooker, got a smoothie maker, and I've also got a water purifier. So this lifestyle, not just is it great for losing weight, so this is the freedom lifestyle for weight loss, enjoying life quality as well. So, I promote cycling not just because it's the best way to move your body to lose weight, but it's fun, okay? It's fun. And the foods that I recommend to eat, you can eat as much of them as you want, but you don't necessarily have to be someone who, is a foodie or someone who just loves food or loves eating. Even if you're not necessarily someone who's into the whole food side of things, just having the confidence to know that the foods that I recommend, you don't need to go, oh, well, am I eating too much of them? Am I going to get fat? Well, no, you're not. You're going to lose weight and you're going to enjoy. And when I mean enjoy, just knowing that you have the confidence to be able to eat these foods and maybe get a little bit of, enjoyment out of the taste. But no, I recommend simple foods. You can do complex if you want, but if you want to do complex, make sure to keep it to low fat, low protein, no oil, high carbohydrate. And if you want to do simple, well, we're going to start off simply with the rice cooker. Okay, so I recommend on part of this lifestyle, you need to get a rice cooker. And the reason for this is because it'll simplify your life. Okay, so these, again, like everything, you can get a cheap one or an expensive one. So this is a cheap one. And if you have money to spend on everything, you've got unlimited resources, then yes, you can get one that's very, very expensive. Hundreds of pounds, even I've seen them for thousands of pounds. But they do the same thing at the end of the day. They cook rice. And the amazing thing with cooking rice, okay, in a rice cooker is, firstly, it's cheap. And these are great because, for example, I used to use it on the hob. So, this lifestyle is about people who care about what they put in their bodies. So healthy people try to think about, well, what is it that's going into my body? How is that going to affect my health? So partly it's great because I've only got a gas hob here. So obviously when I'm burning gas to cook rice, you've got all the fumes that's in natural gas when you're burning. And yeah, I've got an extractor fan, but even then fumes are still going to fill up the kitchen. So that also gets rid of that. And what you can do with these is you don't even need to wash rice, okay? So I say these things like you don't need to wash rice because I don't want people to, I tell them white rice is amazing. You can have it for breakfast, lunch, and tea as your staple food. I don't want people to then go, well, I need to wash it and that takes time. So you don't even need to wash rice, okay? So this is for people who are thinking, oh, I'll just go and get some fast food because that's easy, cheap, and convenient. Well, cooking rice in a rice cooker is easy, cheap, and convenient. Okay, this is fast food right here. Okay, that's not going to destroy your health. So you just literally get the rice. So I've got a rice bag here. So this is a bunch of rice bags I've already gone through this year. So what you do is you have a little scoop with this. Okay, so you take it like this little cup. You take the rice out, put it in how much you want. Okay, you don't need to wash it. Then you fill it up with water to the amount that you need to cook that amount of rice. So generally it has markings on the side, but usually it's about, if you measure it with your thumb, it's quite a good measurement, but essentially you have about half an inch or so, half an inch of water above the rice, but it has instructions on it to show you how much water the rice you need. So that's super easy. So once you've done that, you just click the button, and then once it's done, it goes click and it's done. So yeah, that's an amazing little piece of kit. So it's an electric rice cooker, super cheap, reduces the fumes. You don't need to use the gas hob, and it's super convenient. Once you've filled up a bowl like this, your whole bowl, then I always make an amount that makes it full. So that'll last. If you've got a whole family, that'll last you at least a big, 4 or 5 people a day, at least, I would say. So that cooks up, a good kilo or so of rice. And, that would be good for a day of your whole family. And if you're just by yourself, that could last 2 days. So that's super convenient. And no, white rice doesn't go off. So what I do is I take that off, let it cool just on the countertop, and take what I need for that meal, and then just put it in the fridge. And I'll keep taking it out and taking some out and then putting it back in the fridge until it's empty, and then I redo it. So that's why you need a rice cooker. Just get a cheap one, super easy, convenient, saves time, and allows you to be able to stay on this high sugar, high carbohydrate, low fat, low protein lifestyle for health. Okay, losing weight, regaining your health. This is really at the core, okay, because white rice fits that. So white rice is high carb, low fat, low protein. You get all the healthy fats, all the healthy proteins, all the healthy carbs. The only thing you need with white rice is you just need a source of vitamin A and vitamin C, and you can get that from oranges, just for example, just orange juice. So there you go. Now the next one I recommend, because this adds a bit more fun, okay, a bit more fun. This is a smoothie maker. So again, this is cheap, but so just, £50 or less. So this was about £40 or £50 or less, and this was about £40 or £50 or less. And no, these went second hand, but you can also get these second hand. So these two, I'll get onto this one in a moment, but these two, yeah, you can just get them second hand. So you can get them from a charity shop if you're maybe in the UK, or a thrift store if you're in the US, or you can get them online cheaply. Okay, so you just get them from Amazon, for example. Other stores are available. I know this isn't a sponsored video, by the way. These are not sponsored. Okay, not sponsored. Just life experience and knowing what you need. So this adds a bit of fun. So yeah, you can make up smoothie maybe for your breakfast, for example, and yeah, so you just add a little bit of water, start with a little bit of water, and then, yeah, for example, a go-to might be a banana smoothie. So water, bananas, bit of white table sugar. And also, I'm about to make up a smoothie myself, and I'm going to use pineapples, mangoes, and some tangerines, and yeah, a little bit of water. So that just adds a bit of fun. And again, once you've made that, once you've made up the smoothie and you've got a good liter of it, and that is incredibly satiating. And also, it's cheaper than buying maybe smoothies, which, yeah, they're good, but they're expensive, aren't they? Smoothies are expensive, these pre-made smoothies. Whereas this is a much cheaper way to do it. And also, quite often they remove a lot of the fiber in those smoothies. They actually filter them to make them more runny, because quite often, if you see like a proper smoothie, the denser parts of the fruit, they drop out of solution, and you're just left with this very watery mixture. Whereas if you're having it with a smoothie, you're getting all the fiber, which is good. Okay, so fiber is needed for good gut bacteria, and also so you don't get constipated. Okay, so that's good. Fiber is good. So there's that. That's a bit fun. So this is the essential core. That's at the core. This adds a bit more fun. And then this right here, this is a reverse osmosis filter. Okay, reverse osmosis water filter. And I recommend, so this is from AquTru. Again, it's not sponsored. So this has 3 filters inside. So it's got, one of them's a carbon filter, another one's a reverse osmosis filter, and then there's another one in there. Yeah, so it's got a pre-carbon filter, then a reverse osmosis filter. So I'll turn at the unit so that you can see it. So it's got a glass carafe, so that's where the water collects. So that's glass. Whoop. So it's got a pre-carbon filter, a reverse osmosis filter, and then another carbon filter there. And this is, again, healthy people care what they put in their bodies. Okay, so the water that comes out your tap is essentially all they do. Water companies do is they sanitize it. Okay, with what they put in, like they put chlorine in it, for example. And you've got all these different chemicals that are in the water that the companies don't necessarily have the need to remove. So what you do with reverse osmosis water is, so for example, you got fluoride in there, and all these different things, and all these different chemical pollutants, and yeah, it's not 100%, but it removes a lot of those chemical contaminants and decreases the load. So what you get through the tap is just basically the bare minimum. So really, you should have at least a carbon filter, ideally to, again, 99% of most fluoride will be removed with one of these reverse osmosis filters. So you don't want fluoride in the water. And yes, this isn't all part of the weight loss, but it's part of the getting healthy side. So if you want to have clean water, you need reverse osmosis. Okay, so the bare minimum carbon filter. So that's the bare minimum, really. And then I think I'll do another video on that where I talk about, well, you can have one for under your tap, you can have one where the water comes in from your mains, or you can have something like this. So this is a countertop. So this is a countertop version. And yeah, you've got all sorts of things. You've got aluminium, you've got chlorine, you've got fluoride, you've got estrogenics as well, and all these different things that the water companies don't necessarily need to remove. So I think they should it should be part of the service. You're paying for your water bills, you get at least a carbon filter. You should be getting, I think, at least a carbon filter for your water bill. Water bill is always going up, so it should be part of the service, but you don't get it. All the water companies do is at least just sanitize the water. So they put chemicals in it that at least just, you know, kill bacteria. And then after that, they don't then remove it back out. So what you're doing with this is removing those things that are in the water, or at least as much as you can. And yeah, this is the most expensive part. So this is the most expensive part. And then you also have to replace the filters. But if you're someone who cares about health and cares what goes into your body, you know, the more that I found out about, you know, water treatment and what's in the water, and, you know, just think about it. You know, you've got people, we're all sharing the same water. So, for example, you know, someone who's on the pill, for example, and you got all these estrogenics that people are urinating out, or, you know, it doesn't just disappear, magically disappear. It all goes into the water, and it's just the basic processes of sanitizing water, public water supply. It doesn't remove everything. So, you know, if that was going to be the case, then these companies have to create ways to then remove that, and then obviously they would put the water bills up, you know, drastically. But that's not going to happen. Okay, so you have to do it yourself. You have to take back responsibility of your own health, unfortunately. So all you have to do with one of these is you fill up the water. So with this particular model, so you just fill up this little cartridge here with water up to the top, and then you put it in here like this, and it just goes on like that. And then you literally plug it into the wall, and away it goes until it fills up the container here, which is also made of glass. So that's reducing plastics. And yes, there's plastics in it, but the container is glass. And yeah, this is for someone. This channel and the things that I promote, you know, it's elite, because most people, when I say elite, it's for those elite people, that small percent of people who actually care about their health. You know, most people just go along day to day eating the same foods, behaving like everyone else. And guess what? Most people are not healthy. So if you're one of the most people, you're not healthy. Okay, so if you want to be healthy, don't behave like everyone else, and don't fear not being like everyone else. Okay, so you don't need to fear everyone else's opinions, you know, on whether you're behaving strangely or not. This is health. Okay, and fourth and finally for this video, and a bit of an optional one. So I've got a CGM here. So this is a continuous glucose monitor, and this one is an Abbott Libre 3 Plus. So I've got a video of about a month's worth of videos showing on the foods that I recommend. So on the high sugar, low fat, low protein lifestyle. I'm not diabetic, and the data from this shows that I'm not diabetic. So for example, quite often my fasting blood glucose in millimoles was about 3.5 to 4. And you can do the conversion if you look online, if you're looking at other units. And this just allows you peace of mind to know that what you're doing isn't causing you to get diabetes, because all you ever hear about from food industry and marketing is sugar causes diabetes, and it doesn't. I've got loads of other videos talking about why it doesn't, you know, because your metabolism is sugar. Okay, so the reason why you're alive is because sugar is used to make ATP, and then ATP is used to power every cell in the human body. Okay, so that's from your brain to from the cells in your brain to the cells in your big toe. Everything is running on sugar derived ATP, glucose derived ATP. Okay, so yeah, so that's an optional one. So it sort of goes from more expensive from right to left, but these three, I think these are essential, and then this is just an optional one just for people who, you know, if they're worried about, well, is sugar causing me to become diabetic? Well, then get one of these. Okay, so they just go on the back of your arm. So yeah, it's got a little needle which can hurt, but when you first install it, and especially if you're lean, the leaner you are, the more painful you are, because it's more going into muscle. Whereas yeah, if you're carrying a bit of weight, the needle will go more into fat or adipose tissue. Yeah, so that's something to bear in mind. It can be a bit uncomfortable, but after the first initial few hours, it can You put it on the back of your arm, it sort of does, you know, the sensation of having it just disappear, but it can be a bit uncomfortable from time to time. So you don't need one of them, but again, just peace of mind if you hear these or hear from marketing, or if people around you, your family and friends saying, "Oh, you're gonna get diabetic," you'll be able to show them, and it links up to an app on a phone, and you can go, "There you go, I'm not diabetic, and sugar and carbohydrate doesn't cause diabetes. It's fat, okay, excess fat, especially excess saturated fat." Okay, so I hope you enjoy the video, and like and subscribe. And I've got loads of videos showing I'm always lean, what foods I recommend, training for cycling. Okay, so you know, this is part of the, you know, as long you can eat food, so I recommend foods like rice and fruit, but as long as you keep it to mainly, I recommend some processed food, but the most processed food is always the animal products. Okay, so keep it to low fat, low protein, high carbohydrate. You'll lose weight sustainably. You'll enjoy losing weight because the sweet life is the good life. Okay, and no, don't listen to these stupid AI things, you know, where you go on the internet and you go, "Well, does sugar cause diabetes?" And then the AI spits back at you, "Well, yes, it does." Okay, it doesn't. And the reason why you're being sold the lie of sugar causes diabetes is because those foods that are high in fat and high in protein, the rich Western diet foods, these are the foods that make the most money for food industry. And therefore, as a consequence, all you ever see is those foods that make money. Whereas foods like white rice, okay, like this. Okay, this is the food of the peasant, okay? But if you eat white rice, you'll feel like a king, okay? You know, strong, full of energy, being able to perform in life. Whereas if you're eating these animal products, you're always going to worry about your weight because they're poisoning you, okay? So being overweight, diabetic, heart disease, cancer, you know, diseases of the digestive tract, these are food poisoning, okay? Okay, food poisoning. So like and subscribe. Hope you enjoy the video. If you got any questions or comments and you made it this far, then great. Thank you. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.